I would expect nothing less.
A party speaker. There's like a party speaker like powering it's like RGB.
Whatever they wanted in
Because I am starting to have
Here's our vacation. Yes, yes. Good evening and welcome to the November meeting of the Granville Schools Board of Education. If you would please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everyone. It's great to see a crowd here. That means we have some great commendations, I'm sure, on the agenda, as well as some good presentations about lots of other things. Ms. Strillo, if you could call the roll, please.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Wolf?
Here.
Ms. Deeds? Here. Mr. Cronk?
Here.
Ms. Shaw? Here.
I have a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Roll.
Ms. Deeds? Aye. Ms. Shaw? Aye. Mr. Cronk?
Aye.
Mr. Wolf?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye. All right, let's start out with the commendations.
Okay. Sorry about this. My voice is a little shaky and cracky right now, getting over a little gunk, so I apologize in advance. The first group that we'd like to recognize tonight is our National Merit Scholarship Recognition. We have 4 Granville High School students that will be commended for being semifinalists, applying for finalist status, and 4 students that will be commended for achieving recognition by the National Merit Scholarship Program. The National Merit Scholarship Program is an academic competition with recognition and scholarships. Each year, more than 1.5 million students across the country enter this program by taking the preliminary SAT National Merit Scholarship test. Of these students, approximately 50,000 or the top 3% are recognized by the National Merit Scholarship Program. So we have 8 students, 4 commended and 4 semifinalists. So I'd like to bring up our commended scholars first: Maggie Gu, Cassidy Perderi, Braden Rockwell, and Kevin Wu. Okay, let's take a picture. Mr. Bernath, where are you? Oh, all right. Okay, congratulations. Very well. So then our finalists, semifinalists compete in the final, to become finalists. Those will be announced in April and concluding in July. These scholarship recipients can join almost 375,000 other distinguished young people who have earned the title of Merit Scholar or finalists. So we have Luke Hahn, Audrin Hedges-DeRoy, Ian Lancaster, and Caitlin Miller.
Got it.
If you didn't understand what I was saying, they're really smart. Okay? So good luck and congratulations. That's an amazing accomplishment. Okay, next we have, for the 15th consecutive season, the Granville girls cross country team has qualified for the state championship. After a year of stellar improvement, the ladies kicked off the postseason with their 16th consecutive Licking County League title. The following week, they continued their streak, winning their 14th district championship in 15 years. After taking care of business at the regional championship, they finished 12th place in state, marking the 15th straight year of finishing in the top 12 at the state championship. So now I'm going to go through and talk a little bit about the individual accomplishments of each, but it's a team event, so I think that deserves a round of applause. So senior Kara Bergeron. Kara has a PR of 18:34, the 9th fastest time in school history, and is a returning member of last year's state championship team. She placed 12th at the state championship. 12th. Out of how many runners? Does anyone know?
173.
173. Thank you. Well done. Kara earned the LCL Runner of the Year, District Champion, First Team Regional Honors, and First Team All-Ohio Honors. This is Kara's 4th postseason team and her 4th varsity letter. So congratulations, Kara.
She's on a college visit.
Well, you know, that gets in the way. You guys have to represent for her. All right. Next, we have senior Riley Krause. Riley has a personal record of 21-17. This will be Riley's 3rd time making the postseason team and a returning member of last year's state championship team, after earning the 2nd team LCL Buckeye honor. Riley, come on up. Stand right here, face the crowd in an embarrassing moment. You're welcome. Next is junior Ann Weiss. Ann has a PR of 28. Ann is a returning member of last year's state championship team. Ann earned First Team LCL Buckeye and First Team All District Honors. Is Ann here? I didn't see her either. Okay, I'm going to keep moving. Junior Emma Mialke. Emma has a PR of 2056. This will be Emma's 2nd time making the postseason team after earning 2nd team LCL Buckeye. Is she here? Next is Sophia Poling, Jr. Sophia has a personal record of 1940, which is the 23rd time. which is the 23rd best time in school history. Sophia earned first team LCL Buckeye honors, first team all-district, and all-regional honors. Next, we have sophomore Lily Cronk. Lily has a PR of 2018, and she is a returning member from last year's state championship team. Lily has earned first team all-district honors. Lily, come on up. And then freshmen Elena White and June Landry served as our alternates at regionals and have shown immense improvement since middle school, and the future is bright for them, as well as all of our Blue Ace runners. So our alternates, please come on up. And we know these are amazing, talented individuals, but they also are coached by fantastic coaches. Do I see Tanner and Chrissy? Chrissy, you're blending in back there. Come on up. Oh, let's take a picture. Okay, next is our boys cross-country team, which qualified for the state championship for the second consecutive year. They started off their postseason campaign by winning the LCL championship for the 5th year in a row, and then brought home a trophy at the district championships. They placed 16th at the state championship. Team members include, and I'm going to call you up one at a time just like I did before, senior and team captain Owen Kirkham. Owen has a PR of 1703. Owen has earned first team LCL Buckeye and all district honors. Owen, I'm glad you left your plunger. Because I wouldn't want to have to explain in the picture why kids are holding plungers, but I appreciate it. All right, senior and team captain Alex Start. Alex has a PR of 1715, and this was Alex's first state championship race. Come on up, Alex. Junior and team captain Lane Hannas. Lane has a PR of 1616, which is top 10 in school history, and has earned first team LCL Buckeye and all district honors. Come on up. Probably on a college visit. Next is junior Cohen Stump. Cohen has a PR of 1610, which is the top 10 in school history. Cohen is the LCL Buckeye champion, all district and all regional honor. No, not here either. All right. Next, we have sophomore Calum Sproul. Calum has a PR set last week at regionals of 1724, and he earned first team LCL Buckeye honors. Okay, still not here? Keep going. Sophomore Sebastian Rogers. Sebastian has a PR of 1747, and he's a returning racer from last year's state participating team as well. Okay, and freshman Ben Rose has made an incredible improvement from middle school, and he broke 18 this year, running a PR of 1746. The future is bright for Ben and the Blue Aces. Our alternates are Drew Bergstrom, Nolan Cheney, and Stone Fraley. Alternates come on up as well. Okay, thank you. And let's take a picture.
All good?
Is Ross Hart? Okay, so it's, oh, yeah. Come on up. No, come on up. I'm not going to step into this picture until you come in. All right. Congratulations. You know, tonight is, I think, representative of what we do in Granville schools on a regular basis. Whether it's in the classroom, on the field, on the stage, our students really do a fantastic job of taking advantage of all the experiences and opportunities in front of them. So we know parents, that takes a lot of dedication on your part as well. So thank you for supporting all of your students in experiencing all they can in Granville schools. Thank you very much. And now, there is a presentation by GIS and a 5-year forecast if you want, but if you want to choose to leave now, this would be the time. Okay, thank you. Good to see you. Okay, so our next item on the agenda is our staff report, and as promised, we wanted to have each building take the opportunity to just share some of the things that were happening in their building. And we have the staff from GIS here, Granville Intermediate School. I have to say their energy is scaring me slightly, but I'm very excited to introduce the GIS staff and look forward to hearing their presentation.
Music and pops.
Here we go. All right. Woo! High five Monday! High five Monday! High five! Come on, Ryan! There we go! There we go! Come on! And you get a high five! Here, my cookie! Wait, Ryan, there we go! Come on, Dave! High five!
Well,
Elsa's not nice.
Hi! Well, welcome
Do you wanna build a snowman?
I think that my daughter may have hacked into the Spotify. Yeah, because she can play it from your house.
that's
She can.
even better.
Welcome, we are from GIS, and we want to give you an experience of kind of a day in the life of what PBIS looks like at the intermediate school. So, first of all, we need to establish a vision. You all know we have visions for our classroom, for how to use the restroom, for how we walk in the hallways. So we thought it would be appropriate to establish, what does it look like? What would we see and hear and feel and do in a board meeting? What does it look like? What do we hear? So, I don't know. I mean, we'll stand here until you give answers. So this is a participation kind
I
of thing.
see wacky staff members.
Okay. Okay, good.
I will participate.
Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. What else? What else? What are some other things we see at a board meeting?
We hear from community members.
Yeah, community members. Yes, good. Yeah, what else?
Leaders.
Yeah, leaders. Okay. And we just had a lot of them leave. I really wanted them to stay for the high five, honestly. We also see what? Students, yeah.
Achievements.
Yeah.
We can put that under here.
Yeah, so we hear a lot about achievements. Good. What else would we hear?
About finances.
Money. Yep. Okay, what kind of things things should we be feeling at a board meeting?
Exciting.
That's not boredom, that's for sure. Okay, so we should feel excited. Like, I hope that our board meetings are productive, right? Like, we accomplish things and get things done. Okay, and what kind of things do we do? Productive. What kind of things do we do at a board meeting?
Vote.
Vote, nice. Good. Anything else that we can do?
Debate.
Debate, yeah. Listen? Nice.
Thank you.
Listen, I would write this neater if you were all going to be able to see it better. But so when we establish a vision, our purpose, and what we are wanting to happen is to really kind of have a common ground of the types of things that we want to happen in a certain environment. So it helps us refer back to that. If we're like, I'm hearing like side chatter going on over here. What's our vision? We said we wanted to be able to hear about these things. We wanted to be productive, so we're going to take these things into account. So those are the pieces that we incorporate into a classroom vision or a board meeting vision, any of those.
And we're happy to leave this up here for future meetings, so just remind people.
Yeah.
Good morning, Blue Ace Leaders, and happy Tuesday. Today is November 7th, and it is an A day on our schedule. On today's lunch menu, the signature choice is potato and cheese pierogies, topped with caramelized onions and bacon and green beans. And our grill choice today is a cheeseburger. This morning we are going to kick off our day with some really awesome and exciting shout outs for some students who have shown great collaboration and empathy. Our first one goes to 6th grader Rosalie Katona and comes from Mrs. Bachman. She wrote, "Rosalie, you always make the most out of every group project. Thank you for your collaboration." Way to go, Rosalie. And our second shout out goes to 4th grader Cyrus V and comes from Mrs. Newcomb. She wrote, "Cyrus, thank you so much for helping the other kids find their Storyworks magazine articles, and thank you for showing kindness to others." So way to go, Rosalie and Cyrus. What an awesome way to start your day. And today we are going to introduce a new mystery staff person, and I have several clues to give to you, so let's see if you can figure it out. This person loves pina coladas and getting caught in the rain. They love getting excited about Don's delicious donuts and also
Zeroing it down.
workout comments. And this person's favorite colors are maize and blue. Womp womp. Tune in tomorrow to see who the mystery person is. And last but certainly not least, we know what time it is. It is our joke of the day. Are you ready, Blue Ace Leaders? What do you call a bear with no teeth? A gummy bear. Have a wonderful Tuesday, and don't forget to look for ways that you can be a Blue Ace Leader today.
Good morning, 4th graders. Today for FESH, we are going to start the day with a mindfulness activity with Ms. Baker. So I'm going to go ahead and let her take over.
Okay, so today, Mindful Monday, I'm going to teach you another little tool for your toolkit. Like every week, we're going to add some in. Some of them you're going to right away think, Ms. Baker, you are nuts, I don't love this. Sometimes you're going to think, maybe I like this. But the idea is by May, that you have a couple things that you can carry with you to help when you're feeling overwhelmed or your body's starting to feel worked up. So for today's mindful activity, everyone needs to participate, and what it looks like is this. So you're going to cross your hands to your chest, and I'm going to play a song, and you are going to, just within yourself, not your neighbor, find the beat, okay? Some people's beat might be really fast to the rhythm. Some people's beat might be slow. There's no wrong way to do it, except you have to stay in your space, okay? The song is not, I Want to Build a Snowman, but if it comes on, we'll make it work. All right, so it is. Okay, so just start to feel the beat, however you do. be a mindful activity based on what you know already about mindfulness. Why does that maybe work?
Yes, Jeff Brown, oh.
It's centering, right? It's very self-centered, kind of
Right.
within yourself and things like that. It just gives you a chance to give a break from everything that's happening around you and think about yourself.
Absolutely. And it's sensory in different ways, right? Because you're tapping, you're touching, and you're hearing, you're focusing.
Get your mind out of what your thoughts are and thinking about the music and
Yeah.
rhythm.
So when you're tapping out the rhythm and you're thinking about the music, what are you not thinking about?
Everything else.
Everything else. Yeah. And I love this one too because you can tap your leg, tap your finger, you could do it in the car. There's obvious ways, and then there's really subtle ways. Good job with that one. So by the end of May, if you didn't like that one, hopefully you'll like a different one. I'll keep throwing them at you. Okay? All right, we're moving on to our next.
Every fourth grader's favorite Friday activity. Are we ready?
We are ready. We are ready.
Mommy shark doo 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 doo, mommy shark doo 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 doo, mommy shark doo 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 doo, mommy shark.
Everybody out. Do it. You and Dad.
Grandma shark doo 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 doo, grandma shark doo
Grandma has no
doo, grandma shark doo 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 doo, grandma shark.
All right.
Okay. So I have the opportunity today to introduce our Shark Attack winner for the week. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a description of the Shark Attack winner, and then we will celebrate our winner with our silent hands. This Shark Attack winner epitomizes the idea of responsibility. They make sure everyone gets paid on time and keeps us out of trouble with the IRS. This person ensures that all laws and procedures are followed and that gift cards are used responsibly. Let's give a silent celebration for our Shark Attack winner, Brittany T. Brittany? Oh, and your award, you are the Shark Attack recipient for this week, and you get to hold this for 2 minutes. You get to pet the shark.
It's really like to do that.
And because all of our fourth graders followed the procedure this morning and unpacked their backpack and came and joined the group, we're going to draw our fish for this morning, and we're going to let our Shark Attack recipient draw our fish. So if you would go ahead and pull one fish out, and then you can tell us what number it is.
7.
Number 7.
Number 7.
It's me! It's me!
Let's see what prize you get. Go ahead and pick one of the fish. What did you earn for your class?
5 minutes of extra recess.
Okay, wonderful. So as we have been sharing with you, you're getting, so that this is what we do. Okay, yes, instruction goes on, I promise you, but this is equally as important as the instruction that we have in the academic setting. So we put together just a visual, just so you could see. We wanted you to have that experience of what it feels like, possibly like, I don't know, to have Brian excited about being to pull that shark, or that fish, excuse me, I'm getting my animals or whatever those are confused. And so he gets to celebrate with all of his classmates and all of his grade level peers. So Molly, do you just kind of want to start a little bit about, this is again what you might typically see in addition to everything we just shared.
So we have so many things happening, and we tried to bring some of it to life here for you all so you could experience it, but we couldn't bring all of the things, so we took a few photos. That top one up there, this is Misty leading a group of 6th grade students in some yoga. Do you want to explain that?
Yeah, it was just an option to come during ACE period. We have enrichment opportunities, and one of them was yoga that day, so those people signed up to come.
Yeah. And then do you want to talk about Start with Hello Week, which
Sure.
is very successful.
You probably saw, hopefully, on some of the social media pages, we did Start with Hello Week this year. And the whole purpose of the week was social inclusion, and we used the idea of just how simple it is to start by saying hi. And every day had a different theme. Fridays was high five or fist bump, a nonverbal, since we do that anyway, so I'm like joking. But different, every day had a theme. We included students, they recorded videos, we played them during homeroom, and just really brought forward the idea of including others and how important, and when you include others, it creates a safer school culture and community.
The picture on the bottom left-hand corner is a picture of fifth grade students that are participating in a career panel. So along with their social studies curriculum and one of their grade level meetings, we had community members from various different organizations, businesses, and careers come and speak to the students about the character traits and different aspects of their job that employers would be looking for.
Fantastic Fridays we have now. Alyssa Baker collaborates with Beth Downing, and students can sign up, and they come down. They can come down during their recess time, and they can come in, or they can come in during lunch. And then on Fridays, they have some self-directed learning where they can identify what are some of the projects and some of the different activities that they want to work on. It's been highly, highly successful. Right here, our 3D pens are just very popular with our students, and they love to kind of showcase with our teachers and our peers and their peers. This one came from today, Molly.
This morning, we have grade level meetings, and so 6th grade had a town hall meeting, and the whole purpose is to build this collaborative culture where kids are feeling connected to multiple teachers besides the just one that they see or two that they see. And so we had a giant teacher game of Jenga this morning, and there has never been a Jenga game with more investment. I think look at these faces right here. Do you see that? Like those kids were all in chanting names of teachers, even substitutes who are in our building really often. We're in, they're cheering for John Lawrence, who they've come to love, and really like feels like a family kind of affair here. Here is Name That Tune, which we do on Fridays at lunch, and kids wipe their tables and then they use their wipe to stand up when they can name that tune. They have a ball and send me 8 million song requests, which I then have to peruse to make sure they're school appropriate.
So this is our first year. It's called, it was Flapjack Fiesta Friday, and then we realized like Fridays on Halloween can be a lot like we accidentally did. So we had our second one, and we identified all staff, including everyone in the office. We can nominate a child who gets chosen for the fiesta and flapjacks, and so we cook, we being mostly these three people, and then the students come down, we have a special breakfast, and then as you can see, we actually have a flapjack in the air that was on Halloween, and the students have to catch it.
And we've gotten better. Like now we can get from here to Jeff, like catching it, and they think it is the greatest thing that you have. Like they go back talking about it. A class walks down to PE, we're flipping them over their heads, and they're like, I want to be in this. Like this is amazing.
So this month was collaborative, last month was responsibility, and it's catching on. So they thought it would be awesome to flip you flapjacks in here, and I just thought that might be pushing it quite a little bit. So
it would have been so fun. They'd have to be reined in sometimes.
And then finally, there's the High Five Friday, and then Molly or Misty or Sarah, do you want to talk about? I think that's a fourth grade.
Yeah, so that's fourth grade. That's where they are actually doing the shark attack, just like we did with the shark music, and you can see they're all doing it along with the baby shark. That on the bottom is one of the fourth graders who last week received the Shark Attack Award for displaying excellent character traits at school.
And the last one's here. Here's a student-created vision about their classroom. They wanted to see respect and happy, focused people working and laughing, learning. So these are all student-designed visions. So instead of the teacher being like, these are all the rules of my class, students come up with, what do we want to see? Like, what do we want our classroom to look like? So they get to kind of design that environment for learning.
The bottom right corner is life of a fourth grader. So our 6th grade students, the ones that you see in the picture, Mr. Miller, I believe you were at school today. that we did this. It's completely, I help them, but it's completely student-led and directed. But we funnel all of the rising fourth graders through the building in small groups. They get to, without any other students, get to feel comfortable in the building and predict what it's going to look like on day one, which we found to be really important.
And based on feedback that we received, we had our first ever Life as a Fourth Grade Grown-Up. And so, which was, we had it at a different time where the fourth grade parents were invited to come in, ask questions, learn a little bit about our staff and our building. And so everyone was coming in just having an idea, like, oh, okay, I understand. I'm not just dropping off my 8-year-old, my 9-year-old, and just hoping for the best. So we feel that this is a tradition we want to continue.
Yeah.
And then finally, I think everyone knows the goats. And so our goats are a big part of our PBIS and a big part of our students with that mindfulness. And you know, you probably see the pictures of our orchestra going out and playing to the goats, and Spanish students going out and in their Spanish class and talking to the goats in Spanish is fascinating. So, yeah.
So we know that a student's sense of belonging really is the biggest protective factor that we all can control. There are many risk factors that we can't control, but the way that a student feels when they come to school, when they connect with each other, the way that they connect with us, we can really help foster. And so when we start having PBIS conversations, it starts with that theme. It's student-centered, it's what can we do to be human, even if it means riding around with a shark thing on your head, to show them that we're human and that we can be silly, and when it's time to be professional, we can be that too. That they matter, and that we want to celebrate their accomplishments, and we want to connect with them on a real, genuine level. So all of this is that, and it's the why. It's the why of PBIS. It's the why of really every single thing that we do. And we have found that not only is it good for students, it's so good for the adults. It is so fun standing there and high-fiving. It is so fun flipping flapjacks. It is silly, and it's so much more fun to come to work and connect with other people and have fun, and it's no surprise that it's good for the kids too.
So you got to experience kind of a day in the life, little bits and pieces of what life is like at GIS. So we just have one more question.
One more question. So
What are you curious about?
I like that.
See what we did there?
Yeah.
Seriously though, do you have any
I'm just going to take a minute to reflect on that day that I kind of unannounced just stopped by before school started and things like that, because it's such a great time of year, there's lots of great energy, and I expect to see teachers being at the classroom and things like that. But I walked up to the school, and there was just tons of parents in the parking lot. Right, they were just hanging out out front and really having great conversations and talking to each other. I'm like, okay, I'm not sure why all those parents are standing out here, but anyway, I walked in the building, and I noticed there were like no staff around. I'm like, wait a second, I wonder where all the teachers are, what's going on here, and so forth. But I noticed there were lots of kids, fourth graders, walking around, and they were being led by sixth graders, right? And that was just such a great experience to see, like you really took to heart, right, engaging these kids in a student-centered way and gave them the opportunity for leadership. And those fourth graders' eyes were so big and wide, and they were listening so carefully to each one of the teachers' rooms and following the sixth graders around, and kind of that leadership and that culture that you developed throughout the 3 years there was very naturally transferring from the sixth graders down to the fourth graders. And I love Fish, I love the energy that the younger kids come in, but the transition that you guys are responsible for and showing them opportunities for leadership, as well as fantastic academics, is just really neat to see through that building. So thank you all for that, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Other questions for intermediate school? Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have 3 grandchildren, and the baby shark thing, it's a little much. I've heard it saying a lot tonight.
I have a question. Has Sarah Rodecker, seen this at all from a theatrical perspective? I think you guys have some talent here.
I'll take this show
She
on
might
the
be
road.
interested in tapping into some
I
stuff.
thought you were going to say we never got it.
As Brittany sets up, I want to thank the GIS staff for coming and sharing. PBIS is positive behavioral intervention supports, and it's something that we're required to do, but we're invested in as an organization because the culture matters, And part of culture is belonging and being connected and making sure every kid has a connection to somebody in the building. And, you know, we know that no significant learning happens without significant relationships, and they do a fantastic job. And it brought me back to being an elementary principal when I would do things that were really, really out of my comfort zone. But just to connect with, just to connect with the students that needed that, you know, that little bit of theatrics. But it's part of the job.
And I mean, anytime, if you like want a day that is so fun, seeing those kids on Friday mornings, you could just walk in the building and walk out on your way somewhere. Or one of the flapjacks, I mean, we will.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Great presentation.
Brittany, I'm taking the shark.
Okay.
2 minutes are up.
Thank you.
Good catch.
You set the bar very high for the other buildings.
Well, let's transition to 5-year forecast.
Unfortunately, I do not have the skill set of these ladies. So we have a PowerPoint and graphs to look at. So,
No music?
No
Where's the
music.
music, Brittany?
okay, so we have the 5-year forecast today, and the 5-year forecast, just as a reminder, is updated and required to be submitted twice a year in May and November, and projects 5 years out our total revenue and total expenditures from the general fund. So typically, that would be operating expenses, and then income from property tax, state revenue, and income tax. So the graph that you're looking at here shows total revenue represented by the black bars, and total expenditures are the gray bars, and then the lines across show cash. So the green represents what is the projected cash balance in each of those years, and then the other two represent our cash balance policy that we passed back in the spring, the minimum and maximum of where we would like to maintain our cash balance. So the goal is for that green line to be in between the orange and the blue. So for a majority of the forecast period, that is true. We are right in that range until we get out to the furthest year. So what does this tell us just by looking at this graph? This is telling us that for the life of this forecast, we do not anticipate the need for additional operating revenue. Of course, all of these projections are based on a set of assumptions, so I will walk through what assumptions have gone into these projected numbers. Really quick before I do that, I'd also like to show this. This is the same exact information shown on the graph, but this is an easy way to look at this revenue surplus or deficit line, and that's showing how we're performing in each individual year. So what is our cash balance doing year over year? Since those are negative numbers there, that means that we are projecting to spend more than we're bringing in each of those years. So it's resulting in a declining cash balance over the forecast period. That is typical when we are in this part of the levy cycle. So we passed the income tax 5 years ago and have renewed that, which will begin in January. But that is what you tend to see as part of a typical levy cycle, is you build cash up and then spend down from there. So all of what we're seeing in the forecast is pretty typical. So from a revenue perspective, historically, revenue has increased at about 8%, and we're forecasting about 1.5%. So why the big difference? And that, again, is that levy cycle. So once you pass a new levy, your revenue increases over a period of 2 to 3 years, depending on the source, and then it remains pretty flat going forward. Since we don't see growth on property tax due to inflation, which is our primary revenue source, we're not anticipating significant growth going forward. So first, talking about property tax, what assumptions have gone into the forecast. Like I said, this is our primary source of revenue. And you can see, looking at the graph on the right, that is very flat. As I mentioned, We do not see increases in revenue due to inflation. So although letters went out to residents from the county auditor, we're anticipating a 30% increase in values. Tax rates are adjusted down so that what the district collects in revenue stays about the same. And you can see that historically too. This graph shows that in 2020, we also saw significant increases in value, but did not see any increase in revenue in those corresponding years. The other component of property tax assumptions is related to new construction. So new construction does generate additional revenue. So we have been tracking new developments that are either in progress or anticipated, and going through and really identifying the number of units, the cost, and then the timing of what year are those new developments actually going to hit the tax rolls. Because there is a little bit of a delay from the time we see a home built to the time revenue actually is collected. So some of the larger developments that we're anticipating really fall in some of it in 28, but more so it's going to hit years beyond the forecast period.
What kind of numbers did you use for residential house price increases for the next triennial, like 26, 27? Is it, do you think, the numbers like we're seeing Bensing?
Yeah, so we are not anticipating another 30%, right? So we're probably looking at something more aligned with historical trends, which would be like a 10%. But again, that's 3 years down the road. So that really has almost no impact on what we're seeing in the forecast because it's so far off the projection. And again, it really doesn't change the forecast materially.
And I think the other point that you made about the levy cycle, this is the reason why. Because it's 47% of our revenue all the way out, it is something that, you know, as tax rates go or residential values go up and it gets rolled back, we're still collecting the same amount, which creates that downward cycle because it is such a large percentage of our total revenue.
Yep. Okay, next moving to income tax. And the income tax, what's interesting about it is that we are projecting it to grow at a rate higher than our other sources of revenue. So the graph on the left shows the income tax as a percentage of our total revenue. And so it's increasing over time. And the reason for that is that it's growing at a rate faster than the other sources. So that's how we went from it being 0% before we had the income tax, up to pushing 22%, because it's growing, therefore our total revenue is growing, and it's growing at a greater rate. So as far as the actual assumptions, so all last year we talked about the income tax is up over prior year. The same cannot be said this year. So we are seeing decreases. We receive income tax payments 4 times a year. So we have 2 payments in already for this fiscal year, which is 24 on the graph. So those payments are about 10% down over prior year. So that's what we are projecting to continue for the rest of this fiscal year. The challenging thing about the income tax is 2 things really. We don't have a ton of history, and we don't have a lot of detailed data. So this is all handled at the state, collection is handled at the state level. So the only detail we get is related to earned income, so payments through with payroll withholdings versus payments with estimated payments and payments with returns. So typically unearned income. And that is the portion that is seeing the larger decrease over prior year. So again, not sure how long that may continue, but anticipating that at least for the remainder of this year. Then going forward, we are projecting a 4% year-over-year increase, and that is based on a 15-year historical look just at total income. So while we don't have a lot of district revenue data to look at from a historical perspective, we can look at total income, and over a 15-year period saw a 4% increase. So we know that's not going to be 4% every year, but it's going to go up and down because the income tax adjusts with the economic conditions, which is unlike the property tax. And then the final piece to the income tax assumptions is related to, again, the residential developments that we're anticipating. So understanding that total income is going to increase as a result of additional people moving to the district. So to account for that growth, we've added an additional 1% each year through the forecast. Again, not having much data to help us project what the incomes of those people will be moving here, just recognizing that it will be increasing. And then the final piece of revenue I wanted to talk about is state funding, so unrestricted state funding. And we have made progress in this area in terms of having a logical funding formula at the state level. However, all of the funding formulas that have been in place have had components related to income and property values. So using those two metrics, Grandville is always going to be seen as a wealthy district. So what we receive from the state is not anticipated to increase as we increase as our enrollment increases. So you can see that based on, the bars for 24 through 28, I have two different colors here. The blue is showing how much we would receive under the formula, and then the orange color shows how much we're actually anticipating to receive, and that's called the guarantee. So we're guaranteed to receive as much funding as we did in 2020, but what is being shown here is that we can't grow by enough students to get us off of the guarantee. So we will not see additional growth in this revenue source as we gain enrollment. Then moving on to the expenditure side.
I think that's a really important
sorry.
point, just to pause on real quick and, reinforce that. So we're gonna have significant enrollment growth, likely with the growth of this region, but the state will not be funding our schools anymore.
Right.
So that enrollment growth expenses will have to be borne by local taxes.
Right, yep. And we really see that when we get into the expenditure assumptions where that enrollment growth is really going to impact us. And that is one of the major takeaways from this forecast, is that a lot of these assumptions are built off of the residential development information that we have today. And as those things change, what you see on the screen will also change. Okay, expenditure overview. So historically, expenditures have increased at about 3.6% annually, and we're projecting 7.7%. So that number may seem a little bit shocking. Why is that? Why are we projecting to increase at such a higher rate than where we were historically? And the biggest difference is related to capital. So I mentioned when I started the presentation that the 5-year forecast is for the general fund, sometimes also referred as the operating fund. Well, what we are having to do is dip into the general fund to support capital expenditures. So we have a permanent improvement levy, which supports a majority of our capital expenditures, but with inflation and just the time it takes to get materials ordered and things, we are needing to have a greater capacity to handle more projects. And so what we have done this year is started a capital projects fund that we talked about, and board established in July. And so those capital projects are what's driving that increase of almost 8% going forward. So the next slide I thought was a better way for us to kind of look at it and do a better apples to apples comparison to see how we're trending. So what I did here was took total expenditures and took out the transfers and advances, so excluding those capital expenses, and then put it on a per pupil basis. Because the other thing is we have more significant enrollment growth that we're projecting than what we've seen historically. So between the capital expenditures and the growth related to enrollment, that's really skewing those previous numbers. So here you can see, historically we're at 2.6% and we're projecting to be at 3.2. So much more in the ballpark of where we've been historically. So the largest component, about actually almost 80% of the total budget, is salary and benefits. So what goes into these two line items drives a majority of the expenses. So for salaries, we have included steps plus base increases of 2.75 and 2.75 for this year and next year. That's part of a current collective bargaining agreement. And then 3% going forward. So that's for our existing staff. Then we have, for the current year, we had a transition of maintenance and grounds. We brought them in-house, so they were previously under the purchase service line item, so now they're showing up here under salaries. So that's driving a little bit more of an increase in '24 than where we were in '23. And then the forecasted years, we are anticipating adding 3 new teachers per year related to enrollment growth. And then in '27, we have added additional allocations for support and administrative positions to begin scaling the organization to potentially handle the growth that we're going to start seeing more globally.
So the 3 new teachers, that's forecasted for starting next year?
Correct, yes. And again, I would like to reiterate that this is a forecast, this is not a budget. So just because we have 3 new teachers in this forecast for next year, we are not going to add 3 new teachers unless the numbers of actual students who are enrolled warrant adding 3 new teachers. So we look at that on an annual basis. This is just a forecast based on what we're anticipating with enrollment, what we would need. On the benefit side, so obviously everything that changes on salaries flows through to benefits as well. So when we're assuming adding 3 new teachers, we assume all 3 take our medical insurance. So including allocations for all of the benefits as well as percentage-based increases that are tied to salaries. And then the other largest component that goes into this line item is related to medical insurance premium increases. So we are under a cap agreement with our current provider for calendar year '24. So we are at 8% for '24. And then based on really 3 things, so inflation, higher post-COVID utilization across the board, and our own increased utilization internally, we're anticipating a pretty significant increase in '25. So we will, of course, do the things we typically do. We will go out to bid, we will negotiate with the carriers to try to get the best rate. But that year's a little bit tricky because it is still part of the current collective bargaining agreement. So we're really limited to those 2 strategies for that year. So that's why I'm showing a 20% for the following year. Then I have 10% for the remainder, and that is knowing that once we get beyond '25, we're in a new collective bargaining agreement, and that opens up more options for us as far as plan design and other things that we could put into place to keep those expenditures down if premiums continue to increase. So we have other tools available when we get further out. Okay, next we have purchase service, and we typically show this and just talk about it with all other expenditures, but there's a couple of things that I wanted to talk about this year, and one is related to the offset of the salaries that I talked about with the maintenance, HVAC, and computer tech positions. So we talked about adding those to salaries, so there's also the offset decrease here in purchase service for '24. So wanted to highlight that. And then also in '26, we have added an allocation for renting modular units. So if we continue to grow at the rate of what we're showing for our enrollment projections, we will begin to exceed the capacity of our current facilities. So knowing that we are going to need some sort of transition to accommodate those additional students, we wanted to build something into the forecast now so that we're prepared for that when time comes. And then the rest of the expenditures here are just at about a 4% increase year over year. That's kind of based on historical trends. And other things included in this are largely utilities and other professional services.
I'm going to also just pause real quick on that comment about modular units to point out that that's significant, that with the current enrollment forecast that we have, we will be beyond the capacity in some of our buildings and need temporary modular units, trailers, to be able to manage that until ultimately, potentially a new building is built for that capacity. So that's in 2026?
Yep.
You've got that plan?
Yep, and again, it's in the forecast in '26. It will come when it comes based on numbers and what drives the need. But there is about an 18-month lead time on getting those units, so it's going to be important for us to watch that and time that appropriately.
And no specific plans on where they're going, it's just a forecast that we might need them.
Correct. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, all other expenditures. So wanted to show this graph because it shows how in '23 we had this green, which seems to be the outlier, and that was related to the amount that exceeded the ESSER allocation for the HVAC project at the elementary and high school. And we actually spent that out of general fund. So that fell under the capital outlay expenditure category. So our method going forward, rather than to handle that as a direct expense to the general fund, is to handle it as a transfer. So that's why you see the brown color bar increasing in '24 and then going forward. So just a different way to kind of handle it. This is going to be able to give us a little bit more detailed reporting on how we're spending those capital dollars. So we're required to spend that within 10 years, and it requires board-approved transfer, which would coincide with a contract, a specific contract. So it's going to allow us to be a little bit more transparent on those capital pieces. So for the current year, we have 2.8 allocated in that section. We've already done the 1.8 in July. That was a multi-year contract with Drain. So that allows us an additional amount for this current year to accommodate projects that need to basically get under contract in this current fiscal year for them to be able to happen over the summer. So like I mentioned, the lead time on some of these capital projects are starting to increase as well. So that gives us the flexibility to accommodate those as we go into the capital planning projects over the next couple of months. Okay, so then wrapping things up, again, bringing us back to our summary chart here. Two major takeaways tonight. No need, based on our cash balance policy and what we're projecting here, no need for additional operating revenue through the life of this forecast. And then the big assumption here is related to residential developments. So we're of course going to keep watching those to better understand the impact and the financial position of the district. So continuing to work through the strategic planning process, facility master planning process, continuing to engage with the finance committee, all of those things going into this to evaluate where we stand. Any other questions or comments? Jeff, if I missed anything.
No, just that, you did share this presentation with the finance committee and got their
Yeah,
perspective.
yes, we had, I think, probably a record turnout for finance committee last week, which was awesome. So it was good to have a lot of engaged people there and a lot of positive feedback that we're looking at the right things, doing the right things. There are a lot of unknowns, but that comes with the territory, and just know that we're looking at those things and staying on top of it.
And I don't think you can emphasize enough that this is a forecast.
Right. Yes, so it's a forecast, it is not, it doesn't even coincide for the current year with our budget,
Right.
which may seem counterintuitive. But the budget is a separate process.
Right.
Requires separate board approval. It's a very different process. So actually what you typically see for the current year in terms of expenditures is usually a little bit more conservative than what you have in the budget. So yeah, this is really just a long-term financial planning tool and a way to be transparent with the board and community through the process. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have anything on monthly report, or
Oh,
is that
yeah.
mostly included?
Sorry, I meant to mention that. So the two big things would have mentioned during the monthly financials that were just kind of wrapped into the forecast. One, just the timing with property tax rollback and homestead payment between 2 months last year versus this year, so no big deal on that. And then the income tax we received in October, and that being 10% down over prior years. So that was kind of wrapped into the forecast conversation, so. And then we haven't had any actual expenditures out of the capital projects fund, but just wanted to throw that out there that once we start actually spending out of that fund, we'll have that as a component of the monthly financial report going forward.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We've reached the time in our agenda where the board welcomes public comments. If you have a comment and would like to step to the podium and state your name and address and speak for up to 3 minutes, you're welcome to. Seeing that we don't have members of the public here, I will mention also that anyone at home watching online or otherwise interested is more than welcome to contact any Board of Education members through the information on the website or to attend in the future. So I think we'll skip right through public comment and move on to board discussion. The item on the agenda we can follow up a little bit on is the Finance Committee and the 5-year forecast. And, you know, I've been attending Finance Committee's meetings for 10 to 15 years and so forth, and it was really great to have fantastic participation from a broad range of community members. I think there's an appreciation that, you know, with the growth coming our way, there's some pretty significant financial assumptions to be made. There are pretty significant financial changes that are in the wind. And so it's just fantastic to have a very high caliber group of community members that's willing to ask tough questions, right? Participate and scrutinize our numbers. Oftentimes at Finance Committee meetings, we really get like really tough questions on why are expenses doing this and what's happening and so forth. I didn't feel that. Like, I felt like we did a great job, and people were maybe not shell-shocked, but at least appreciative of like, yeah, that's the right number. You know, we're really gonna see that kind of growth. And the places it's gonna impact us the most, that we can each talk about or give our thoughts on. One is building capacity. You know, we see that with the modular units that we're gonna need just 3 years out. And that's gonna have implications for, you know, real construction costs at some point in the future. I don't know if you want to kind of mention what your thoughts are on that, or you could talk a little bit about that and the process that we're going to undergo from a facility master planning perspective to address that.
Yeah, so whenever you're anticipating, you know, new housing developments and you're close to capacity at your current facilities, it's an important step is to start a facility master planning process. We actually are going to be releasing our RFQ, request for qualifications for people who do facility master planning. That process is really community driven. It really is building a large group of people's understanding of what our current facility limitations are, and then kind of a path forward. And you know, it looks at, you know, programming, it looks at transportation, it looks like it looks at every aspect of your facility master plan. And I think that's an important process. And we've had a strategic planning committee really looking at kind of understanding the numbers. And we've really gotten myopic on kind of more enrollment type of information. But ultimately, it will all factor into kind of a strategic plan to address growth moving forward. But just to give you a little recent data, I was talking to Dublin superintendent today, and they passed their bond and operating levy in the last election. And he said when he built a building in Hilliard 10 years ago, the cost per square foot was about 289 feet per square foot, or per square foot. He says it's over $500 now per square foot in construction costs, which, you know, is we're seeing in our homes, we're seeing it in everything that we purchase, we're definitely seeing it in our capital budget. But I think it is an important thing to keep an eye on, you know, and making sure that we maximize our current facilities, but then look at how we're going to need new facilities in the future. but that will be a community process because we have to build everyone's understanding of what what makes sense in context of future growth.
And this is just kind of the first announcement that we're looking at this, master plan for our facilities and things like that. There'll be some very specific requests coming out as we identify a consultant to walk us through this process where the community really needs to engage and work with us in understanding the important decisions about, where do we need temporary capacity? What kind of buildings do we need? Where do we want them located? And there's a lot of analysis that goes in there, but it's going to be very much community driven, far beyond just the board and administration working through that.
The only other thing I would like to highlight, not related to finances or anything else, but last November 6th, the day before the election, we had a staff PD day. And the entire staff in the morning listened to the presentation of Signs of Suicide. Nationwide Children's Hospital is our partner. They came out and did a presentation to the entire staff, K through 12. 9 through 12 in the afternoon, heard Jamie Mead from Battelle for Kids on Hope Science. So looking at, obviously signs of suicide is a pretty heavy topic. So then balancing that with what can we do about it and building that Hope Science off of that as well. But it is something that, we are doing things proactively. We work with our students and do risk assessments in certain grade levels, and we try and make sure that we're ensuring that all kids have a person that they can feel connected to in the building, which is absolutely important in that process. So just wanted to mention that as well.
It was good to hear specifically about the intermediate schools' efforts, with PBIS and so forth, and that dovetails so nicely what happens starting in the elementary school with PACS, transitioning to the middle school with the ROCKS programs and more, and the high school where we have, really high expectations of our kids, but they step up in all kinds of great leadership ways. There's been continuing questions out in the community about that and so forth, and I can say that, if there's ever a question, my suggestion is to first ask a student, right? And get their perspective, because it's just so insightful to talk to our kids, whether they be elementary schoolers or high schoolers, about what they're really feeling and the stresses they're feeling and things. But if there's ever an issue, approach one of our staff. That's the first line of contact. And all of our staff have gone through professional development to identify challenges, whether it be from bullying to signs of suicide and more, right? Approach a staff member. If you're not getting the answer, raise it to an administrator. Right? If you're not getting the answer, go another level and so forth. But start with the student, right? Start with the staff member, any staff member, because they've all been professionally trained to be able to respond and record things. If we don't know what's happening, there's no way you can work on it. And there's a lot of tools that we've specifically developed, over years of focusing on this to some extent. We're using some data about bullying on the website, and we post on the website our semi-annual reports of bullying incidents. And it's been interesting because you can go there and you can see 10 or 15 years of history of the number of incidents, the number of incidents that are confirmed and so forth. And I think it's because of our proactive work along these lines that we've seen a significant reduction, right? If you just look at that general trend. But it's not over then, right? Because any incidents of bullying or any concern about these mental health needs to be addressed significantly. And I feel really confident about all the tools that we've put in place, but a lot of people are just not aware of all that effort. And so if there's ever a question on anybody in the public or student's perspective, ask, right? Because there's lots that's happening there.
And there is an anonymous tip line on the website that you can click on and report, and that triggers a response from the administration.
Yeah. And I've heard people ask questions, about what are we doing? I heard about this bullying incident or something like that. And I'll say that, we have to follow state and federal privacy laws as well, relative to specific things. And I think people sometimes don't quite understand the constraints that we're in and the sensitivity that we need to approach all these individual incidents with to make sure we're respecting the privacy of the students and families that are involved. So because you haven't heard things are happening, right, maybe that's a good sign, right, that there are things happening behind the scenes. But if you have a concern, approach us, let a staff member know, and it'll be addressed. There's nothing else formally on the board discussion list, but I will mention that several of us had the chance to attend the Ohio School Boards Association meeting today. And specifically, it was a luncheon by the Alliance for High Quality Education. I thought it was very well facilitated and run. Thank you, Jeff, for all your work with that group. But to be able to have both a state senator and a state representative there to discuss their perspective on, the state of education in Ohio was really valuable. Any highlights from that anybody else picked up that might have been there that wants to discuss that, or anything else you saw at the conferences?
I'll just add, within the Q&A session, we had a good discussion around property values and how those look going forward. And so, proactively, elected officials are looking at, larger homestead exemptions, not just carte blanche having property taxes go up based on, inflation or property values as are today. So things are in the work to address guaranteed school funding, minimum school funding, but also the rise in property values, not necessarily correlating to the rise in property taxes. So,
And each time I hear from a state representative, I realize they're dealing with a lot of challenges, right? And they're trying to implement policy that's sort of one size fits all. And we have formulas that can be adjusted and so forth. But many things they try to address are not necessarily relevant for us, right? But we get sort of saddled, or we have to deal with the outcome of it anyway. Whether it be measurements about our student success, right? Whether it be the way that we manage our staff, whether it be, whatever other constraints are significant across the state, maybe are just not relevant, right? But we end up having to have these conversations, so when you talk about property values increasing, that really might affect people's property taxes in other districts significantly. Or like what we saw, here we go, 30% increase in property values and no real change in the revenue for Granville or the property taxes of individuals, right? But they're trying to manage that in a place, where many of our neighboring districts are going to see property value increases that are significant, and people are going to have real problems with their actual property tax increase. Well, that's just not the case here, but you hear a lot of chatter about it. And the state representatives are trying their best to manage the overall picture, but it's challenging to make a one-size-fits-all solution, right? So it was interesting to me just to hear some of their comments about all the various things, and taxes on property tax and homestead and ticket prices and all those things that they're trying to manage at a top level that maybe may or may not be relevant. Yeah.
We appreciate the chairs of both the House and Senate Education Committee dedicating time to the Alliance meeting. I thought their comments were interesting. Representative Byrd is a former superintendent, so he has a little bit of different perspectives. He shared, kind of the commentary about requiring cash requires now a different level of control that we didn't have when we had just everything going through hometown ticketing, which, was a very much more of a controlled environment. But I thought there were some other things to note. When I say in meetings, we are trying to make an impact on the facility commission and dollars for, districts for infrastructure growth that maybe haven't had access before. The Alliance gives us a seat at that table. And the previous Alliance legislative liaison is Jessica Bodolini, who's now, in the office of, or the Department of Education and Workforce in the governor's cabinet. So, we have the ability to, influence and bring perspectives to people who are making policy decisions. So I appreciate the board. I've been on the Alliance Executive Committee for 12 years and the chair of the Executive Committee for almost 5. And it really does give me a unique position to kind of look at things coming down the road. Yeah. And that requires your support, and I appreciate you giving me the flexibility to do that.
Yeah, it's great insights to kind of get a head start and a look at those things, because we need to be able to communicate really clearly and effectively to our constituents. The things like that come up in the 5-year forecast are perfect examples of it. Growth is coming to Ohio, right? We're going to be the Silicon Heartland. We're going to see a lot more enrollment and housing and business and so forth. And there's a significant cost to that that's not necessarily borne by the state at all. Like, and in fact, since they're not giving us any more dollars per student from the state perspective, are going to go down, right? And that's something that we need to grapple with and understand and communicate amongst our constituents and make sure that we know that, you know, we have clarity on our forecast, right? And we have, you know, a clear plan for that, and we understand what the steps are going forward in terms of how we need to step up and support the schools. So thanks for the great forecast information. Any other updates from other board members or activities and so forth? Great. I think that's it. If we can proceed with the agenda.
All right. Action agenda 10.01 is board policy adoption. It's a two-pager. So if you remember in my last report last month, these are all byproducts of House Bill 33, which was the budget bill that had almost 3,000 pages of education-related policies. So, do you have a motion to discuss that?
Second.
Thank you. Nothing more to report.
First reading, last reading,
yes.
second reading.
Today
Board
an
vote.
action item. Or, yeah.
Yeah, that's certainly unique that we have this kind of extensive requirements within a budget bill. Right? So that's make progress from the state's perspective and so forth, and so we'll hold on to that as best we can. Yeah.
Ms. Deeds? Aye. Mr. Crum?
Aye.
Ms. Shaw? Aye. Mr. Wolf?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye. Okay, 10.02 is a resolution declaring transportation impractical.
So moved.
Second. So this is the first of a two-step process to declare transportation to Marburn and Liberty Christian Academy impractical. And then the next step is a payment in lieu of transportation to the specific parents providing the transportation.
And why are we paying for students to go to these schools?
Because we're required to provide transportation.
Thank you.
Any other questions? The roll, please.
Mr. Wolf?
Aye.
Ms. Shaw?
Aye.
Mr. Crum?
Aye.
Ms. Deeds? Aye. Mr. Miller?
Aye. Thank you. This next item, 10.03, is the first reading of the 2024-2025 calendar.
So moved.
Second.
And just a reminder, the calendar is developed through a committee that is facilitated by Mr. Bernath. It is built into the collective bargaining process for that to be a collaborative process with the association. So if you have any feedback, directed at Mr. Bernath.
So why are we going after Memorial Day? I just
Yeah.
hearing this about this year and apparently next year too.
I mean, we have to go X number of school days, so the hard part was finding 3 other days that we could take out.
Right, that we don't get a full week for spring break, or we get, yeah.
Exactly, and that,
We start extra early.
we've gone after Memorial Day more years than we haven't.
Mhm.
So that's really not, it's not optimal, just like not ending the semester. When we go to winter break is not optimal, but it's not so cumbersome that it's not something we haven't done before and handled really well as well.
Yeah, and I remember last year we talked a little bit about the fact that we were basing some of the calendar on CTEC's calendar,
Correct.
so that's important to know.
Yeah, thanks to you and the committee for putting that all together. Any other questions? The roll, please.
Ms. Shaw?
Aye.
Mr. Crum?
Aye.
Ms. Deeds? Aye. Mr. Wolf?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
10.04 is the approval of the emergency closure plan.
Second.
Okay, so as part of the policies that you just approved was emergency closing, and part of the provision was if we are going to allow for a virtual learning day, we have to have an emergency closure plan approved by the board, but signed off by the association. So our plan is really a hybrid. So we have 3 days that will be original snow days, just like, Campbell Soup days, so that you have those available. And then after 3 days, in lieu of going and extending the calendar even further into the summer, utilizing our virtual learning platform, Schoology, and creating windows of time where students can interact synchronously with staff. So I think we've developed a good plan. The association has given their written consent, and I think it's a blending of what people would like to see happen.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate. Question, kids will be excited that kids in those snow days for sure. Right, and we really appreciate the staff's willingness to work and all we've learned over the last few years in doing some blended or remote education that will help us not have to extend the year any further beyond Memorial Day and so forth. Roll, please.
Ms. Deeds? Aye. Mr. Wolf?
Aye.
Mr. Crum?
Aye.
Ms. Shaw? Aye. Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Thank you. Next is 10.05, approval of the agreement with Hickory Valley Sod Farm for installation of softball batting cages.
So moved.
Second.
So we had to deconstruct the softball batting cages that were in existence when we paved that back area for additional parking in between softball and tennis and soccer. So we are going to relocate them on the practice field that band utilizes. Band's going to move down slightly, and the batting cages will be right at the end of that field. So
they're going to be at the sort of north end of the field?
no, they're actually on the south end.
So you go kind of around those batting cages in order to get to the...
You'll drive in front of them, and then kids will walk around them to go to the actual band field.
Okay. Great. Any questions on that? Now, where's the new bandstand going, the director stand or whatever?
It's actually right at the 50-yard line of that new area,
Okay,
so to speak.
cool. All right, the roll please.
Mr. Crum?
Aye.
Mr. Wolf?
Aye.
Ms. Deeds? Aye. Ms. Shaw? Aye. Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Okay, 10.06 is an approval of an agreement for job site internship work-based learning program with Knox County Career Center.
So moved. Second.
Okay, I have to give credit to our new HR director, Brian Petrie, for this work with Knox County Career Center. This is a way to help facilitate getting a mechanic support into the bus garage. As you know, Joe Lift has been operating by himself since the beginning of this school year. So we're approving the work-based internship program, and then the next action item is the hourly wage rate, and then in the consent agenda, we have a student that we're hiring. So there are 3 items related to that. But again, kudos to Brian for thinking outside of the box.
Yeah, it's so tough to fill positions like this now and so forth. It feels really good to kind of be doing this in a way that meets with our mission of being great education as well, right? And so bringing in an intern to learn alongside us in a cost-effective way, and that will ultimately become a big contributor to the schools is fantastic. So again, thanks for thinking outside the box. I think this is going to work out great. Roll, please.
Ms. Deeds? Ms. Shaw?
Aye.
Mr. Crum?
Aye.
Mr. Wolf?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Action item 10.07 is the approval of the hourly wage rate at $13.83 per hour.
So moved.
Second.
And that just puts him below our current members on any of those scales. And then if this person were to be successful in the future and move into a full-time position, then it would fall into the collective bargaining.
Very good. Roll, please.
Mr. Wolf?
Aye.
Ms. Shaw?
Aye.
Mr. Crum?
Aye.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Next is a consent agenda, 11.01, A through D.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so just a couple of highlights. We have a couple of donations for desk bikes, and items for the Go Buckets from the IGA, we appreciate that. We have supplemental contracts for some winter athletics.
What is a Go Bucket?
Go Buckets are part of our
Oh,
safety
I-
plan.
Yep, sorry, go ahead.
We have a maintenance technician position that we filled, and we have some tournament workers, extended contracts, and then the student internship employment that I just mentioned. And we have several EF tours and the marine biology class that are requesting field trips. And if we are going to Iceland, hopefully it's not seismically active at the time.
It
So-
will be daylight.
Yeah, it will be daylight.
All day long.
Yes.
For those students.
Yeah. Cool. Any other questions on any of those things?
Desk bikes are at GIS,
Yes.
and are they there already?
Yeah,
I
probably.
think, yeah, my child.
We
uses
have multiple, we've had
You've had
multiple
them.
funding rounds for those.
Yeah, yeah, they just seem really cool.
Yeah. Very good. The roll, please.
Ms. Shaw?
Aye.
Mr. Crum?
Aye.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Mr. Wolf?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Item 12.01, approval of the October financial report. Any additional questions or comments on that?
And we have a copy of that for details
Yes,
in our folders.
yes.
They're available online. No questions here?
Mr. Wolf?
Aye.
Ms. Deeds? Aye. Mr. Crum?
Aye.
Ms. Shaw?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
12.02, approval to adopt the 5-year forecast.
So moved. Second.
Great work again on that. It's really nice to see the affirmation from our finance committee. Really important that we stay on top of this, because things are gonna be changing quick. In addition to just, clear, solid numbers and things like that, the models that are going on behind the scenes to feed that, specifically relative to developments. That'll be popping up here, and we'll get more information on, weekly, right? It's nice to have a system to input that into to see what the long-term impacts are gonna be, because things can change quick. And we need to be able to provide that feedback so we can collaborate with developers and let the community know what's coming our way. So, thanks for all your work there. Yeah, roll please.
Ms. Deeds? Aye. Ms. Shaw?
Aye.
Mr. Crum?
Aye.
Mr. Wolf?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
12.03, approval of the depository agreement with Park National Bank.
So moved.
Second. We are renewing our depository agreement with Park. This is typically a 5-year agreement, so we're doing another 5 years.
That's just a bank account agreement in the terms of that and so forth?
Yes. And we don't have fees and things like that, and have a good partnership with them, and we of course want to use a bank that has a local branch is important with cash deposits.
Yeah. Yeah, and they've done a great job of supporting the community in general and so forth, the rates that they offer and so forth, so thank you. No questions here? Go
Mr. Wolf?
ahead.
Ms. Deeds? Aye. Mr. Crum?
Aye.
Ms. Shaw?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Item 12.04, resolution authorizing Meta to issue RFP for natural gas.
So moved.
Second.
So we are part of a consortium with Meta Solutions, ITC out of Columbus, for natural gas prices, and so they are asking for approval from all the districts to put on RFP for that next contract. That works out really well to get the pricing through them, and they handle all that, and it's a good relationship there.
Do we have a way to kind of independently check what those rates are against other generally available rates or other school districts and things like that? I don't have a metric for what those numbers should be or how that works.
We can get that information, we have all of that, we can do that work, but that's what, they
That's
have a
what they
whole
did, yeah.
person who,
Yeah.
his only job is to run this program, so.
And so that would be a part of the package that they offer, some consultation shows us where their negotiated rates are relative to what other generally
And
available rates are.
they go so far as to reviewing district invoices to make sure that you're actually being billed at the rate that's in the agreements and, but yeah, like, I mean, this is what they do every day.
Fantastic, that's great to have their support. Any more questions? The roll.
Mr. Crum?
Aye.
Mr. Wolf?
Aye.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Ms. Shaw?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
12.05, approval of the then and now resolution.
Second.
So this requires board approval for the expenditure for water filters because it exceeds $3,000 and the PO was not in place prior to the invoice.
Any questions? Roll, please.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Ms. Shaw?
Aye.
Mr. Crum?
Aye.
Mr. Wolf?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Second.
I'll make a quick plug here at the end of the normal Wednesday night Arts Boosters meetings. This Wednesday, you guys will be out at the Cidery as a way to engage more people and find more show opportunities to get involved with volunteering and supporting our arts. It's a great group and it's an open invitation for anybody to join. But the role for it.
Ms. Deeds? Ms. Shaw?
Aye.
Mr. Crum?
Aye.
Mr. Wolf?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye. Thank you all. Meeting adjourned.